So welcome back to the Dynasty Rewind YouTube channel. My name is Bob Van, and we are hopping right into another fantasy football mock draft here on Mock Draft Monday, getting you ready for the 2021 fantasy football season. We are pick number 7 in a 10-team mock draft. We will be doing another 12-team mock draft this week to get you ready in any format, any way, any possible. We are in the draft right away, like I said, and pick 7, not my favorite spot to be. I like to be on the end caps, on the bookends. I just like building my team two pieces at a time as opposed to, having that longer wait, kind of being in the middle. I know some people like the middle because it's easier to kind of project where the draft is going to be, and I'm cool with that too. But I've always preferred the end caps just because I like building two pieces at a time, and I always feel like my roster comes away stronger with that as opposed to having to kind of project who's going to make it back to me. You can kind of do that with being on those long turns, but I've always found it best to just pluck two players at a time, be good to go the whole way through the draft. So we see CMC go off the board right away, and what's new? I think that's pretty standard. Expect that in pretty much every one of your drafts. Dalvin Cook going number 2, no surprise there. Then you get into a discussion. Alvin Kamara is probably a tick ahead of Dalvin Cook for me. Then we see Zeke. Probably see Derrick Henry go off the board here. I kind of have a set strategy that I want to go into this with, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, you got to kind of be water. Aaron Jones sneaking up boards. That's nice to see as a Packers fan. Wearing a Steelers hat, don't judge me. My dog is a Steelers fan. So I'm going to roll with, I always like to start off strong at running back in these drafts. I can't get over Derrick Henry, drafting him there. I'll probably go wide receiver on my next pick. I think most drafts, unless you can luck into a good tight end at a good value, my first 6 picks are going to be probably 50-50 running back wide receivers. I like to kind of take shotgun approach at quarterbacks and tight ends just because you only need to start one of them in this format. There's super flex out there. There's 2 quarterback leagues out there, but for me personally, I just would rather take the shot on running backs and wide receivers that are going to be really good as opposed to, wide receivers later that, might not even be starting for teams and might not be getting a lot of, running backs that have a lot of run on their teams as well. But that's a whole other discussion for another day. So we see Kelsey and Hill go back to back, the top 2 receiving options in KC. Austin Eckler at the 2-1. Nothing too crazy yet. I don't think we'll see anything too crazy. I'd love to snag Calvin Ridley, one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL today. But I might not pass up on good running back value if it's there, and then that would be something that my next 2 picks would be probably defaulted to best wide receiver available, solely for the fact of like I said, I don't like to punt either running back or wide receiver right away. That's kind of as I've drafted more and more this season, I've just decided that I don't think you can punt either one. Unfortunately, Calvin really naturally goes right before us. So I'm gonna make a pivot here, and I'm gonna go. Man, I have a tough time passing up on Jonathan Taylor here. I'm gonna go D Hop though, and just that way it'll kind of keep me a little more open on what I can do with my next picks. You like to think that Arizona offense is going to take another step forward, another year of Kyler Murray. But the only question is, the concerns at running back. Are they going to have a consistent run game? There's that Cliff Kingsbury air raid offense that's been toted on since he entered the league, and sure, it's been somewhat explosive and somewhat efficient at times, but we just really haven't seen, in my opinion, what all the hype is about, and that could speak to the fact of it not being that viable in the NFL. Who knows? But, it's still not an elite offense by any means, but I do think there's a lot of potential there, obviously, or I wouldn't be, investing in DeAndre Hopkins this early. So we'll see what happens there. Jonathan Taylor's still on the board. And, it blows me. And there he goes finally. You know, I don't know when all the Jonathan Taylor hate began. I don't know if it was when Carson Wentz got hurt and Quentin Nelson got hurt, but like I just don't get it. If in all honesty, I just don't understand how we just fade the guy who's not injured. His quarterback was injured and his starting offensive guard is, but that O line is still a beast without him. And they're just, all-star offensive line with him. But I just don't, you know, is there really still a fear that Naheem Hines is going to be a huge factor there? And if he is, why is he getting drafted so late? Is it Marlon Mack that we're worried about? If that's the case, why is he getting drafted even later than Naheem Hines? Really wish I could have got Keenan Allen there, but I'm going to, you know, suck it up and deal with it. I think I'm going to draft some CeeDee Lamb. And, you know, I like a lot of the other options here. CeeDee Lamb's probably just a little more of the sexy kind of option. Allen Robinson would have been my other pick. You know, if there's anybody super safe to land in the top 10 on a yearly basis, you know, with upgrades at quarterback, whether it's Dalton or Justin Fields, ideally. So I think he's a safe bet to finish in the top 10 again, as he has most years he's been healthy. So that would have been my next pick. Might be my next pick if just kidding, he just went off the board. Um, so I don't want to neglect running back here, but I'm not in love with any of the value here. I'd have to kind of reach on Swift. I'd have to kind of reach on Carson. So I think it's going to be a wide receiver again, and that puts me at the question of, you know, I'm torn between Robert. I'll probably take whoever's left between Robert Woods and Cup. Naturally, they'll probably both be there, and I'll have to make a tough decision. You know, I'm cautiously optimistic that Cooper Cup can still be. Him and Goff had a connection that was just, you know, one of the strongest in the leagues, if you ask me. So I'm kind of hopeful that he can reignite that with Matthew Stafford, and maybe I'll look to stack him later in the draft. That's something I like to do, is stacking later-ish quarterbacks with my wide receivers. So running back is going to be on the shopping list for the next pick. Realizing that DeAndre Swift wasn't actually that much of a reach where he is kind of frustrated me, realizing that later. We'll see if the hate for him can last down the board a ways or not. If I could get him, that'd be cool. Hopefully somebody auto drafts J.K. Dobbins. I think that's what you get for auto drafting or missing your pick. Somebody. So now that we get to Dobbins, you know, no confirmation yet as of this recording that his ACL is gone. But, you know, obviously something to be concerned with when it comes to, you know, long term. ACLs aren't what they used to be. You know, I think he can make a comeback and be okay if it is an ACL. Somebody I'm just not going to draft right now. I don't feel the need to take that risk at the moment. Um, so for me, I don't want any piece of the guy right now. In Dynasty, I've gone and traded for a couple shares of, in leagues where I have J.K. Dobbins. I've went and traded for Gus Edwards. You know, getting that safe running back, who I think he could be a running back too. I think he's going to be a little shaky in terms of reliability. I think he might crack RB2 range at the end of the season, you know, probably like just get inside the top 24. I think more realistically, he ends up in the RB3 range, which is okay, I think. And I don't think that's any knock on Gus Edwards. I think, you know, his receiving upside is limited, and that offense loves to share carries. So I'm, you know, if you need to go get him, you can get him pretty cheaply. I got him for a second and a third, you know, late second, late third round pick, which isn't awesome. You know, it's pretty good value in that league, in my opinion, because it is IDP. It's two quarterback league, so there's, you know, a lot of players on the board at the late two and the late three. But, you know, I think for covering my butt a little bit on that pick, oh man, I was really hoping that. Oh, that's so frustrating. Um, man, that's frustrating. I'm gonna take T Higgins because I would like him more than I like Miles Sanders. Man, I would have loved to have gotten Chris Carson there. I'm really, really kind of upset about that. If I'm being honest, you know, he slid all that way, and then big old snipe happened. So we'll see. I think Isabella's auto drafted at least once or twice, so we'll see if that continues or if not. Like I said, hopefully he gets J.K. Dobbins. You know, sorry, not sorry. Um, that's what auto drafters should get. So I'm gonna hope that Miles Sanders makes his way back. I don't know if he'll get by Ribeye Love. That would be my main. Well, Isabella too, honestly. You know, so I doubt that's gonna happen. I think that might be a bit of a pipe dream, but I don't think I can ignore that anymore. I have four wide receivers, all unique bye weeks, so I think I might have to reach a little on Josh Jacobs. Don't love it by any means. I am not in the Josh Jacobs fan club. by any stretch of the imagination. But, I do think at this point, as a sixth round pick, possibly, kind of undervalued. If, back to J.K. Dobbins a little bit, if there's anybody that's going to benefit, I think, from J.K. being out, it is Lamar Jackson. I think, he reprises a little bit more of a rushing role. I think they find more work for him in the run game. And we see Josh Jacobs. I'd rather have Miles Sanders, but I'm sure I'll get sniped on him by Isabella this time. Not cool, guys. See, when you start punting positions, you just kind of get sucked into it, and then you just never find players you like ever again. And then it's sad, but very true and an unfortunate circumstance. I don't think there's any way he passes on Miles Sanders here. So I'm gonna let that pipe dream of mine go of getting him. Um, yeah, Miles Sanders. So now we are in a big old predicament of who to snag here. And again, running backs, not great. Javonte Williams. And the thing is, you have to kind of take your pick here. Bit of an upside pick there. There's a lot of speculation that he might not get a ton of workload this year at all, which makes that pick very dangerous. But we do have Melvin Gordon in front of him, and he's not known to be the healthiest horse in the league. So I'm gonna, hedge my bet there. I wouldn't mind Kareem Hunt if it didn't stack a bye week with Derrick Henry. When you punt a position one way or the other, I wish I would have reached on Carson or Swift instead of taking what was it, Cooper Kupp or T Higgins? I think it was Cooper Kupp. Um, I wish I would have done a little bit, more moving around, but it is what it is, and that's part of the draft too. Is the thing I love about these leagues is they're super competitive. Everybody's pretty much on their stuff. You haven't seen anybody draft J.K. Dobbins yet. And that's something that could carry on through the draft. There's going to be some point where somebody feels like he's an uber value and he's a must draft, but I don't think that necessarily happens anytime soon. Probably, when we get to double digit rounds, he's probably worth a look. I mean, arguable, I guess. It depends on your running back room and how confident you feel in it. But I like I said, I don't want to draft him anywhere. I think somebody will draft him, but these leagues are uber competitive. I drafted my home league last night, and when I was sitting around in the sixth, seventh round, I'm still just raking in running backs and wide receivers that are really damn good. And it's just the ADP on Yahoo is a lot softer than it is on Underdog. I think I got Darnell Mooney in like the 12th or 13th round, where he's probably going to be an eighth round or probably a ninth round pick in this draft. If I had a guess, yeah, he's still pretty low. There's no world where Darnell Mooney will be a wide receiver 43. I can almost assure you that he will be a wide receiver 2 at worst. He's somebody that'll be on my board for later, but we are almost up, and we might have to go with the necessary evil of Kareem Hunt. I know there's such a mixed group on Kareem Hunt, and like last year, even when in games where him and Nick Chubb both played, there were weeks where they were both RB1s, and I don't see any reason that can continue. And man, I just need to stop getting sniped on people, man. That's killing me. Let's see here. You know, I'm gonna draft, and I don't like doing this. I don't like drafting players that are 1 year off of an ACL. I do think that Sutton's looked fairly good in the preseason. There is concerns that he isn't as good with Bridgewater as Judy is, but and it doesn't actually stack a unique bye week like I thought. That's a mistake on my part. My bad. Kind of a wasted pick. Also bringing on Javonte Williams with it. Hate it now, but again, it is what it is. We will be looking at Chase Edmonds or Damian Harris with our next pick. Man, I'm probably gonna go Damian Harris. Chase Edmonds has done a lot when it comes to being efficient with what he's had, and he's been getting rested pretty much every preseason game. So, he's been, he should be fresh for the season and ready to go. All right, so Chase Edmonds and Damian Harris are both still on the board, so either way, we'll get one of them. Man, I think with the way my running back room is, I'm going to chase the up, pun intended with his name. I'm going to chase the upside with Chase Edmonds as opposed to the safety I feel that lies with Damian Harris. And I think with my next pick, my running back target is probably going to be Ronald Jones. Um, would be Michael Carter, but man, I just, with him getting little to no work in the preseason, and when he does get work, it's like in the third or fourth quarter. Not a huge fan of that. I've cooled on my take a little bit of Michael Carter being an RB2, which is, just unfortunate. A guy I'm really high on as a player. Might just take a little longer to get acclimated to the league. I think the overall talent is still there, and I think the opportunity will end up being there. I just think that they might try to bring in somebody that is a complement to him, similar to how like him and Javante Williams were used in college. I think there'll be a need for a compliment there, and that's okay. Not too concerned. I think we'll have a shot at a wide receiver before. Yeah, we're only 6 picks away, so we could probably push Ronald Jones to our second pick. So we'll probably have a shot at a wide receiver or maybe even a quarterback first. I wouldn't mind Justin Herbert if he's there, in all honesty. I don't like drafting quarterbacks this early. I don't. I also wouldn't hate it. I have a decent. I wouldn't draft a running back here. I'm not drafting Raheem Mostert. Who everyone is so surprised that he's injured already in preseason. Um, that was sarcasm, by the way. You know, I do. You can't. People say you can't predict injuries, but I'm sorry. When a player just can't stay healthy, you can predict injuries, and you can choose to avoid that player, or you can choose to decide to try to hedge a bet on that player. And if it happens, it happens. But then you can't go and say, well, you can't predict injuries. Sorry, that's just the cold hard truth. And I said from the jump with Raheem Mostert, I'm like, I'm not drafting him, but if people want to draft him and they want to take that risk, if Neezy91 wants to take that risk, that's on you. And so yeah, here I'm gonna go with Justin Herbert. Um, I'm probably gonna hate this move later. I know I will, but I like Justin Herbert a lot. That I'm gonna punt quarterback, pretty much the rest of the ride here. Um, Kind of wish I would have gone Darnell Mooney instead, but I have so many of him that I think I have enough for now. If Ronald Jones is so far on the board, I don't want to risk it though. I need to get another reliable running back in there, and I think Ronald Jones might just be the guy. Um, there's a lot of hate going around for Ronald Jones, and it blows me away a little bit. The fact that I'm probably going to get him in the 10th round, pretty surprising. So the fact that Darnell Mooney is probably going to be a 10th round pick as well, I'm pretty confident in that actually. There's a big reach on the board, but there's no way he makes it back to me. So need to solidify that running back room, and I'm feeling pretty good now. That makes me feel a heck of a lot better. My wide receiver room is already really, really strong. Probably could go with two more wideouts to end the draft and be good in that room. And then I can kind of play with quarterback and tight end the rest of the way as needed. Tight end is going to be a focus. My players of supreme focus are going to be Robert Tunyon. Russell Gage would be an awesome player to add. Unique bye week. Still wouldn't mind adding Matthew Stafford. That would put my quarterback game on absolute point. With those two, I would feel pretty dang confident in having a QB1 every week. So I'm feeling a little better about this than I was about a minute ago. As much as I hate drafting quarterbacks early, I think in 10 teams you get a little more flexible because so much more gets pushed down the board. I kind of feel the same way with tight ends, just on the matter of fact that everything is so deep. At least at wide receiver, running back is still arguable. I go back and forth on thinking how deep the running backs actually are, especially in this league. I think we're coming to a point where instead of teams having the one bell cow back, like I think that narrative is dead. I think bell cow backs are done in this league almost. And I think we're going to see more backfields that have two running backs that are both very, very viable most weeks. We see Darnell when you go at the tail end of the 10th. And I think what's going to happen there is it's going to, propel the few workhorse running backs like we're already seeing. It's going to propel those few workhorse running backs right to the top of the league. They'll be top 5 picks every year, kind of similar to how we are now. But like the rest of the running backs will just kind of trickle in. It'll be a less of a less of a focus, I think, to grab running backs, and you'll have less of a handcuff scenario where like you're going to be able to draft both of them at decent prices. So I think, wow, we see Robert Tonyan go way early. There's a chance that he would have still been available, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to go Russell Gage here. And I'm gonna try to snag. I think I'm gonna try to snag Matthew Stafford on the way back as well. We're at a weird point in the draft, in my opinion. Um, to the point man, I don't know. I can't get behind Rondale Moore right now. I have a tough time with that. Devontae Parker, fine. I think you're thinking kind of rosy if you're expecting him to really show out this year. Took 4 years to break out, finally did. Comes back the following year, same issues, quarterback problems. Take your pick at what the reasoning is, but you know, I don't know. I have a tough time with that. Henry Ruggs, right around Russell Gage. I think he was actually a little ahead. Jacoby Myers is a good pick this late. So, like I said, I think I'll have a good crack at Matthew Stafford. We already have quarterbacks taken the few picks before me. So I think I'll be able to get him. I think if anything, Jalen Hurts will probably go before him. Usually, how he's going two ahead of him technically. Quarterback got snagged out of there at some point between the two. I do love this feature, by the way. They added not too long ago. You butt. Oh man, that makes me angry. Well, shoot. I think we'll draft to make the wide receiver room done. Is the goal here. And we'll just go ahead and snag Jacoby Myers. Somebody who is, continually shown out in the preseason and a lot of camp hype. A guy who's been pretty reliable over the last couple of years. As opposed to N'Keal Harry, who they drafted in the first round, they've gotten a significant more amount of production out of Jacoby Myers, who was an undrafted free agent. Kind of a lot of irony there. That's usually how it goes. Similar to, Rashad Penny came in and Chris Carson, took the reins, and Rashad Penny's been, Mr. Obscurity ever since. We are 6 picks away. I'm going to be looking at probably Irv Smith at tight end. Probably maybe Jonu Smith. Get the Smith brothers action going on at the tight end position. For quarterback, if it weren't for all the negative info coming out about Joe Burrow, easy smash at quarterback for me. Justin Fields not ready to make that pick would give me a pretty upside player, but just not ready to see him start quite yet. To a no interest. Sorry. We are starting to see news coming out. I don't like to see tight end runs. Might have to jump in. Well, no, I think that's Irv Smith is probably ripe for the pick in there, and I think Jonu will be the next pick. Maybe, probably not though, with Mr. Isabella not having a tight end behind me either, unless he chooses to reach down the board a bit. But we'll see what happens. No clue. I totally lost my train of thought. Don't know who I was talking about there. I think it was something about Justin Fields, but maybe not. So we'll go Irv Smith, somebody who I think has some pretty dang good upside at tight end, and I think Jonu Smith is kind of a little more, a little more even keel, as opposed to a guy who I think has a ton of upside. I think Jonu has a good amount of upside as well, but I think he's going to be more that steady Eddie type player, and I think that's a good compliment to each other, the Smith brothers. We got a handful of picks left, but I'm feeling pretty dang good about our team. Definitely want to address running back with at least one more running back pick. Nyheim Hines is somebody who would be in the picture, but I don't think he's going to make it to us. He'll probably be my pick if I get sniped on Jonu. No interest in Singletary. I think he's been looking good this offseason, but I'm not about that life. Yeah, starts but gets no carries. Nah, I'm good. Thanks, bye. What, dude? Ugh, that's so frustrating. I'm so tired of getting sniped. You didn't even you had 2 tight ends already, dude. Come on, spread the love, buddy. Nyheim Hines goes to. In that case, I think we'll go Gerald Everett here. Kind of gives me 2 of those, kind of strictly upside tight ends in my opinion. But gives me a lot of upside in that room. Maybe attack it later with a more reliable tight end. Quarterback is going to be the focus with probably my next two picks, at least one pick. I think Matt Ryan will be my pick here coming up if he's available. We see Trevor Lawrence kind of slipping his week 7 bye. Don't want to put that with Justin Herbert. Matt Ryan would give me a little baby stack with Russell Gage. A guy who I loved earlier in the season, T.Y. Hilton. Why are you all drafting so far ahead of the game? Man, oh man. Getting kind of fed up with you guys, getting a little crazy with your little drafts. I guess at this point, I'm just going to draft another quarterback because I'm sick of getting sniped. I'll go Baker Mayfield. Not a guy I'm overly high on this year. Just haven't really seen that offense take off, at least in the passing game. We've seen good running game. Obviously, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both being very viable running backs last year. And I just don't, OBJ coming back, Jarvis Landry had a down year last year, which, never good when older receivers start having down years. It's hard for them to bounce back. Whatever the case is, there's narratives, you can drive up any day of the week that, well, this happened, OBJ is out, so Jarvis has more workload. Whatever the case is, you have to look at it for what it is and what happened. Take out all of the narrative and all of that and just look at it for what actually happened. Context is important, but, it can't just drive a narrative too much. So, I'm concerned with Baker, but I think he's not a quarterback that's going to get benched at any point in the season. Nothing like that. So, see, and now we're kind of at a whatever point in the draft where a running back would sure be cool. I'll go McKissick. Stacks a bye week, which isn't great, but at this point in the draft, like I said, we're sitting pretty at pretty much every position. Maybe I'll draft another quarterback. Honestly, maybe another tight end. All right, so nobody of really note coming off the board, but I've kind of decided that my last two cracks are going to be Hunter Henry, tight end out of New England, and Darrell Williams, running back out of KC. Now, Darrell Williams is pretty much just a handcuff. I think he gets some work week to week and could kind of be one of those guys that blows up. Hunter Henry, purely an upside pick at tight end, a guy who, that injury narrative kind of surrounds and clouds around him. But, you can't predict injuries, but when that's a player's track record is getting injured and missing a lot of time, it's hard to argue anymore that, that player is injury prone. But at this point in the draft, I'm okay with taking a shot, especially since I already have a solid tight end room. Wide receiver room is fine, not worried about that. Running back room is pretty good. I'm going to add to it again. I could add, just kidding. I'm going to add Jameis Winston at quarterback. I think I'm going to roll with that instead. I think there's a lot of upside there. Kind of brings back a little bit of the high upside late round quarterback, which I think will be really nice to see. Now that he's named the starter, I think there's a good chance he stays starting. The fact that he was able to win it outright in the preseason, seemingly after one game, I think that's a good sign for Jameis. Gives me three quarterbacks, all unique bye weeks. So if one's hurt 1 week or the other, as long as it's not on those particular bye weeks, I'll still have a quarterback going, which is super important. Got myself three tight ends, pretty awesome. Stacked wide receiver room, a solid enough running back room. Probably could have passed on J.D. McKissick. Probably would have been okay with the players I had, but just for some assuredness, I put a lot more stock into the wide receiver room early, so I wanted to do that. So quick roundup of the team. That is it for the draft today, everybody. I do hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like and check out these other videos on the channel. Help you get ready for the fantasy football draft last minute before it's too late. Check them out. If you enjoyed the draft, thought Underdog Fantasy seemed pretty cool and fun to get into, there's still time to make your first deposit. Get a $25 kickback when you use promo code REWIND. Use the link in the description box below. That'll get you a free $25 to play with. Enter it in the Puppy Draft or the Best Ball Mania Draft. Take your pick. That is it for me today. Y'all have a good one.